Have you ever scrolled through your social media feed and noticed how everything looks just a little too perfect? Endless photos of exotic destinations, perfectly curated outfits, sunsets that seem more vibrant, and everyone looking, well, flawless. You compare it to your own day-to-day. A little messier, a little less glamorous, and certainly less filtered. It's almost as if there's a whole other world on social media. One that feels real but is somehow more than real. This isn't just your imagination. It's a concept that the philosopher Jean Baudrillard spent his career exploring. Baudrillard believed that in our modern world, we're surrounded by images and representations that don't just reflect reality, but actually replace it. He called this state hyperreality. So what exactly is hyperreality? For Baudrillard, it's not just about a photo or video looking a little too polished. It's about a world where symbols, images, and digital experiences have become so powerful, so captivating, that they start to feel more real than reality itself. Over time, these representations, or simulacra, become so common and so immersive that they take on a life of their own. They don't just represent reality anymore, they supplant it. Take social media as an example. The images we see of people's lives are often carefully chosen, edited and filtered to show the best, most exciting moments. But as we scroll, we start to accept this curated version as the way life should be, as if these images and videos represent the real, everyday lives of the people we follow. Baudrillard would say that in these moments, social media becomes hyper-real. It's a world we experience as intensely real, but it's founded upon something synthetic. To understand Baudrillard's concept of hyperreality, we also need to look at his idea of simulacra. Simulacra are images or representations that don't just reflect reality, but instead create a new, independent version of reality. Simulacra are copies without an original, signifiers without a referent, artificial versions of something that never really existed. The environments of fantasy video games are great examples of simulacra. Here you can find detailed, intricate worlds filled with cities and forests, ruins and temples, monsters and heroes, none of which have ever existed outside of the virtual realm. In Baudrillard's view, there are 4 stages of simulacra. First, the image reflects a basic reality. Then, it begins to distort reality. Next, it hides the fact that there is no original reality underneath. Finally, the image becomes its own reality. A pure simulation with no connection to an original. Think about theme parks like Disneyland. When you enter Disneyland, you're stepping into a highly designed, carefully controlled world where everything is perfect, exciting, safe. It's a simulated version of a city. It's a fantasy world, an idealized environment that doesn't actually exist anywhere. But it's so detailed, so immersive, that it feels like its own reality. Baudrillard argued that places like Disneyland are more than entertainment. They are simulacra that give us a hyper-real experience, a world that seems more fun and perfect than the everyday world outside the park. Baudrillard said that Disneyland exists so that when people leave it, they believe that the rest of America is real by comparison. This idea of hyperreality doesn't just apply to theme parks or social media. Baudrillard believed that, in the modern age, technology, media, and advertising create countless hyperreal experiences that shape how we see ourselves in the world. Consider virtual reality. When you put on a VR headset, you can be transported to a mountain peak, an underwater world, or even a space station. The experience can feel thrilling and engaging, sometimes more so than a real-life visit to some of these places. In VR, we see Baudrillard's hyperreality in action, a world where the simulation can feel more compelling than the reality we actually inhabit. As we immerse ourselves in these hyperreal experiences, we might lose touch with the actual world. If simulations are more exciting, more polished, more engaging than real life, what are the consequences for our sense of reality? Baudrillard believed that we risk blurring the lines between the real and the simulated, and eventually come to lose the ability to tell where one ends and the other begins. Baudrillard applied his theories to the news and the media. In today's world, news media often frames events in specific ways, creating narratives that can shape our understanding of reality, drawing our attention to certain things and obscuring our attention from others. Take 24-hour news cycles or breaking news alerts. By constantly highlighting and framing events, news media creates an immediate, often emotional experience that can feel more real or intense than the actual events themselves. For Baudrillard, this kind of mediated reality created by the media is also a form of hyperreality. The media doesn't just report on reality, it shapes it, creating a media reality that can influence public perception, opinions, and even memory. Baudrillard would argue that when we consume news, we aren't just getting facts. We're experiencing a crafted, often dramatized version of reality that can seem as real, if not more so, than the events themselves. So what does Baudrillard's theory mean for us in a world filled with screens, simulations, and digital representations? Baudrillard invites us to be aware of how technology and media create versions of reality that can captivate and shape our perceptions. In a world of social media, virtual reality, and non-stop media coverage, Baudrillard's ideas encourage us to ask, are we grounded in reality? Or are we moving into a future where simulations take reality's place? Keep these questions in mind and look at your own interactions with media and technology. How much of what you see through your devices is real, and how much is a hyperreal simulacrum?